Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens. Ask me almost anything. My name is Glenn Gers, and I come to you every Tuesday and Thursday, if I can make it, at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to do some live streams on the topic of writing for screens, of being a screenwriter, of learning the weird particular art of writing for screens, and also general other topics that I will be bringing up here and there. We're switching over from my previous daily writing live streams, starting up a new tradition, and thank goodness some people have made it. Hi, Nathan. It's good to see you. I was a little concerned that we wouldn't get anybody back after all of that, after changing times and places. So I'm very glad to see you. I'm going to plunge into today's first topic, which was a question I got in a comment, which was basically, how do I avoid scams while trying to learn screenwriting? There is, unfortunately, a large industry teaching and trying to help screenwriters. A portion of that industry is scams. I'm not going to say that it's not. It is a never-ending challenge for screenwriters especially, but for anybody creative, to avoid scams. The scams keep changing. I am not up on all the latest, but I can give you a really good, simple rule to avoid scams. You never have to pay anyone anything to be a writer. It's just simple. You can be a writer at any time without paying anyone, okay? So if anyone is promising you that you pay them and they are going to give you these dream come true results about an artistic career, they are either lying to you or lying to themselves, because it happens a lot. A lot of teachers out there, they truly believe they have figured out the system that can beat Hollywood and get you that huge $1 million advance and all that stuff. The thing is, if you could beat the system, people would be doing it in the system. I guarantee you, if someone actually knew how to do that, they would not be teaching you on the internet, okay? The main thing that you need to know about working in the arts, and especially about working in the entertainment industry, is nothing is real until it is done. No matter how, you can get a contract to get a movie made and it can still fall apart. They can still not pay you. You can make a movie and still have it not come out. Right, Batgirl, just the latest example, but it happens. Things fall apart in production. Things fall apart in post. Things fall apart in distribution. So nothing is real until it is done. So if anyone is saying to you, oh, I've got this thing and it's going to be shot, and I promise you we already have the money in the bank, and therefore if you'll just give us a script for free and then we'll do this, that's a lie. Nothing is real until it is done, until you have a contract, until the production is completed. Nothing in the business is real. Once you get used to the business, you learn. Somebody will come to you and say, I have the financing for a project. Do you want to direct it? And then you work with them and they find out, well, kind of have the financing. Like they have the financing if X and Y and Z happen. Do not kid yourself, okay? The other thing is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, you never have to pay anyone anything to be a writer. If you want to do it, if there's a film school or a film class or a film club or whatever, and it costs money, and you have that money, and you want to do that thing, and you can afford to spend that money, that's fine. But it will not substantially alter your career opportunities, okay? Those career opportunities are going to be built from you doing your work and putting it out there and luck. that is how your career is going to work out. And it's an ongoing thing. There is not a one breaking point. There is not a one, this is the moment when everything switches from outsider to insider. It honestly doesn't work that way. You would be surprised how many people get a big break and then are not insiders, and how many people work little bits and pieces for a while and then they slowly build up their insiders. Some people work outsiders their whole life and then all of a sudden get picked up in the end. There's no clean career route that someone else can give you for money. That just does not happen. Hi, Michael. Victoria. I am glad. Welcome. I am very glad. Yes, do not sign anything until it's on the dotted line. Michael, please hang into the end. Towards the end of this session, I will be answering a question that you asked last session, which is about timing, how to time the scenes. But I want to take care of this scam thing first. Here's the thing about, I'm not saying that classes or coaching or schools or whatever are not necessarily not worthwhile. They may be worthwhile. The question is, you have to decide whether it is worthwhile to you in your reality, your circumstances. But it is not like this thing is the key to getting in. You can go to film school and never have a career. You can take a special film class with a special film coach. You can get mentored by Christopher Nolan and not have a career, okay? There is no guarantee of any of that. It is very much a matter of you making your path moment to moment as you go. And if you have the money and you understand what film school is and you want to go to film school, fine. Then it's not a scam. If you are saying, I'm going to go $60,000 into debt because this is going to be the thing that will make it so that I will be able to pay that back because I'll be making $50,000 an episode, that's a mistake. That is not a good plan. I will tell you the secret to success. The secret to success is you have to get really good on your own, working hard. You have to keep putting your work out there over and over and over again, even when you are in the business. And you have to create a life that supports doing those two things. If you do A, B, and C, and you get lucky, you will have some success for a moment. That is the truth of working in the entertainment industry. The value, all of these things have value. Coaches, schools, contests. Let me tell you what I think those values are, and you can decide whether or not it is valuable to you, because everyone has to work this out for themselves. The value of a creative writing class or coach or school is not secret knowledge or access, okay? That is not. What the value of those things is personal growth. If you will learn something from a class or a coach or a school, then that's great. But you will not get the special key. You will not get the secret knowledge, all right? There is no secret knowledge in the arts. It's all out there. Everyone is saying it. You can look for free on the internet and find out most of what you need to know through interviews with people who work in the business and lessons given out constantly by all the people who have different opinions on how this works. There is no absolute rule. There is no secret knowledge. Hi, Thumper. So if you are thinking that you are going to pay for special access into the business, you're going to get to have a meeting with a person and they are going to open the magic doors and then everything is going to work out. That's not how it works. Okay, you have to inquire, study, explore, and educate yourself forever, ongoing. Unlike law school or dental school, you don't go to writing school, get your writing degree, and then open up your writing shop. That's not how it works. It's an ongoing, lifelong process in which you are constantly learning new things, and the situation is constantly changing. So therefore, it's on you. If in your discovery of what you think you need to do, you find a class that you can afford that will teach you things that may help you, take it. But you don't need to. It's not like you won't get a chance because you didn't pay somebody money. You can do this without paying anyone any money ever. If you have a chance to go to USC or UCLA or NYU film schools, the biggest American film schools with the best reputations, you still have no guarantee that you will be able to make it as a working person in the industry. There are people who do those things, who go to those schools, who do not make it, because every artist must make their own path. Every artist. There is no path set down that is like, this is how you do this. Yes, if you want to work in writing television, you will have to learn the steps by which you write for television, and there are certain things that make that more likely. So there you have to explore and educate yourself. But it's not like you go to TV writing film school and they give you the diploma and then you apply to the place, say, hey, look, I went to this place, and they will let you in and let you do it. It will then depend on your abilities, your particular style matching the style of the place you are applying to, and 1,000 other things which you cannot control. Therefore, you are ongoingly working to figure out where you stand, what you can do, and what you should try to do. All right? Every artist must make their own path. Now, that said, if you feel like you would like to learn more, and there is a teacher out there, or a coach, or a school that you can afford, they do deserve to make a living. They deserve to be paid for the work they are doing of teaching you. Okay, if someone has a school and you go to their school, yes, you should pay them, and they can help. I hope I'm helping when I do this, but you can do it without that. It is not like there is a license which you need in order to practice this art. Like anything, some teachers and schools will be better than others, and some will help you particularly more than others. Everybody has some teacher that another person learns a lot from and you don't. That's just the way it is about teaching, and especially in the arts. Okay? Now, I will get to contests and agents and managers in a second. I just want to talk about the fact that a lot of times people will say, oh, well, Aaron Sorkin said he did it this way, therefore I have to do it that way. Cool. Good for him. Every artist must make their own path. The fact that someone is great or someone is famous or important does not mean A, that they know how to teach what they're doing, and B, that what they are doing will work for you. So you have to study, explore, and educate yourself. You have to say, oh, this is how Aaron Sorkin did it, and this is how Mike Nichols did it, and this is how Christopher Nolan did it, and each one has their own way. You have to pick and choose the pieces that work for you and throw out the rest. That is what every artist has to do. That is why I say every artist has to make their own path. Michael went to film school at SFSU, and no teacher discussed the business. Yeah, some schools are very much into the art of it. Some are very into the business of it. No matter what you get, you're not getting the other thing. No matter what you don't get, you are getting the thing you are getting. It is up to you to make the most of what you have available. If you can afford something and you want to do it, great. It's not like they are going to give you the answer to art. Okay? There are no absolute rules in art. There are rules to the business. Those can be learned mostly by just reading about it on the internet, listening to podcasts. There's books, there's online videos, interviews with people. You can find out what you need to know right now. Okay, there has never been a time when you have had so much information available to you about the inner workings of the entertainment industry. Okay, it is not like learning to be an electrician where you pass a test, you learn how many volts go in through which kind of wires, and then you are licensed to be that. There is no writing license. There are, however, values to the things that are on offer, which is where they become a scam or not. The value of getting a professional read. There's places that will read your script and judge it for you. They'll charge you money. If you can afford that and you want that, cool. What they will mostly tell you is how much you do or don't hold to the formula, which is currently believed to be the business formula. Business formula, not art, not good. Business, acceptable to the business. That is what you're getting from a professional reader. Professional readers do not have any special knowledge that any other reader doesn't have, okay? If you give somebody your stuff and they read it and they can't understand the characters or they don't think it's funny, they're giving you a read, okay? Whether or not that is what the business is looking for, whether or not you are fitting some paradigm of how many acts there are, that is something you can get from a professional. You can probably get it from other wannabe writers, honestly. I am not a big fan of paying people to give you a professional reading, unless they are going to also give you a lesson, and most of them do not do that. They do not do coaching along with their reading. So to pay someone to read your script strikes me as sure, but just recognize that you are paying someone for an opinion. You don't know who they are, you don't know what their values are, and you certainly are not getting the official answer. That is, to me, a misunderstanding of what a professional coverage is. That seems to be not great. The scripts where you're posting and rating and everyone is putting their own scripts on there and then they read each other's scripts and they rate them and you get a sense of how people react, like the Blacklist, I think those are pretty cool. It's something, a question of can you afford to do it, because you have to pay for that. But by joining that club for money, you will get some responses. And that's probably better, to my way of thinking, than professional coverage. You will be getting all sorts of wild opinions on your work. The big problem with those is a lot of things just nobody reads it. And then you've paid to put it out there, but it's very hard to get attention. There's so many scripts. It's so hard to get anyone to read it. That's the downside of something like the Blacklist, is you can put your stuff up there and not get it read. But it still seems, to me, worth the money. That's I don't know how much it costs right now, and I don't know how much money you have to spare. But remember, when you pay money for any of these things, assume that you're not getting that money back. It's not like, oh, I'm going to make so much money from this that it's not going to cost me. You are giving that money away for that service. Cool. That service, the script sharing places where you are working with other wannabe writers and they are reading each other's stuff, that seems like actually a cool use of the internet. Hello, Nacho. Hi, Michael. Many coverages claim they worked for a well-known company. Of course they did, and I'm sure they did. Working for a large company does not mean you know anything. I mean, you know what they thought in that large company, and you know what you thought when you worked at that large company. But it's not like that company has like a set of secret rules. They're not telling anyone else. And they're like, hey, if you work here, we're going to tell you the secret rules of screenplay judging. And now you know that if you go to somewhere else, you know the special way to judge screenplays that no one else knows. That's just not the way it works. The way it works is if you have managed to get yourself a job in the screenplay reading industry, in the coverage part of the business, yes, you will get a sense of the basic values of the company you worked in. And that's not a bad thing. But to charge as if you're saying, I have the voice of the industry in my head and I'm telling you what is and is not acceptable to the industry, that's just nonsense. It is nonsense. Like I said, they're very often lying to themselves. They very often believe that they know what's right and what's wrong. I believe personally any good artist knows that that is a matter of opinion. Okay? Whether something is good or bad, whether something will sell or not sell is a matter of opinion. And if we could have a way to judge that where we would know what would sell, we would do it. Everyone would do it and everything would sell. But even in the business, most things don't sell. Most things that most writers write, even in the industry, even people with agents, people with credits, people with all sorts of experience still write a ton of stuff that doesn't sell. So just get that into your head. There is no one with secret knowledge of how that works. How do you know who to trust when passing on ideas? Cool, BaseTV. I will get to that in a second. That's an interesting question. How do you protect your work? Let me get to that in a minute. Let me finish about this topic about being scammed. So this professional reading thing, I'm like professional coverage. If you have the money, cool. But recognize that you are essentially paying someone for their opinion. There's a lot of people who give you their opinion for free, many of whom have worked at fancy companies. See about joining communities of writers. You'll meet lots of other people who have opinions. The value of coaching or personal education, like one-on-one teaching, that's can be valuable. It's sort of a matter of the unique and personal combination of their skills, the teacher's skills and knowledge, the teacher's way of thinking, and your needs. You'll never know until you try it. My feeling about something like coaching or that is that it's kind of like training wheels. And therefore it's not valuable. If you can afford to have it, to get support and support, hopefully this teaching is supportive, and understands what you are trying to accomplish and is doing the best they can. But at a certain point, you're going to want to take that off and go by yourself. And that's cool if you can afford it and it works out that you get good support from this person. Great. I will tell you my real personal advice on what's most useful. If you can afford the time and the cost, I recommend festivals and conferences. Okay? They have screenwriting conferences and they have tons of film festivals which have screenplay divisions. That's actually where I believe you are getting the most bang for your buck as far as putting money in, because you are going to meet other people who are in the same field and you are going to get a sense of what you're going to talk to them. If you can go to these things and if you can pay the money to get there and hang out with these other people doing it, that's really kind of valuable. You learn a lot. What's more, you make connections. Somebody may know somebody. Somebody may know a DP. Somebody may know a producer. Somebody who will read your script. The next time you write a new script, you can say, oh, this person I met at the festival. Send it to them. That seems to me a worthwhile. I got more from going to festivals than I expected. I thought I was just going to get the credit. Oh, he went to that festival. Cool. I met so many fascinating people and I saw so many fascinating things and I learned a lot about what other people were doing and it was valuable. Hi, Gene. So far, we're doing okay. We're doing all right with the new time. Yes, there is no real value to winning a festival or a conference. It's the experience, the edging into the community of people who are trying to do this. The other thing that I would recommend, if you have the ability or the inclination or you have the interest in collaborating with people who do, make stuff. Do DIY, do no budget, do web series, do podcasts. The more that you can experience finishing a script, going through production and seeing what happens with even the tiniest audience, the more you will learn about screenwriting. That is the most valuable education you can get. If you can put on a play, if you can do a reading of your script, Anything that gets it out of script form and into the performance and production form and to an audience, that is really valuable. I would personally say the money that you're spending on contests, if you could put aside 10 contest applications, don't do those. Take the $1,000 and make yourself a little short. That would be more valuable. Then you could submit that to festivals, by the way. So I would say that that's really, really valuable. The thing about contests is the only real value of contests is that you get something to put on your resume if you place. If you get into second tier of whatever, you can put that on your resume. That's nice. If you win the contest, are you likely to get the keys to the kingdom? No. If they offer you a meeting to someone as the thing that you get to win, is that going to help you? Nah. You're basically paying for a mentor when you do that. And you could just pay for a mentor. The thing about a contest is if you're paying them and the prize is you're going to get a meeting with someone, you're basically entering a lottery to see if you'll get a meeting. It seems better to just hire a coach. That's my opinion. There is one place called Cinestory that I really do recommend. Hang on, let me see if I can find. Do I have it? Do I have it? No, I don't have it here. Okay, hold on. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so this is the name, Cinestory. As contests go, and it is definitely a contest, and it is not easy to place in it. And furthermore, when you place in it, I believe you still have to put up some money to travel to the retreats that they have. But I have worked there, and they're real. They're valuable. Do they pay off? No. But in terms of personal growth and advancement, they're solid. They're real, and I don't. Unlike most contests, what they're offering is for real. I am not a big one on contests. Pitch festivals strike me as the least sensible thing to do. I think pitching is a stupid thing to do anyway. I think that pitch festivals, from what I've heard, honestly, you're not going to get much. Most people in the business, if you are a working writer with an agent and credits and everything else you need, and you go into a pitch meeting, the odds of you selling that pitch are very, very slight. Pitching is not usually, pitching a script that has not yet been written is almost, it used to be the way things were done. It no longer is. And I truly believe pitch festivals, not a great idea, not a good use of your money, unless you're physically going to a pitch festival conference and you're going to meet the other people who are pitching. But that's it. You are more likely to advance your career by making indie films or doing plays or joining a writer's group or just hanging out at a coffee shop where other writers hang out. Let's talk about agents and managers. The thing about agents and managers is they should not charge you up front. An agent or a manager should take a percentage of the money that you guys make together. Like if you make money, they make some of it. That's the way that it does. Sometimes they will charge other fees to the company that you're working for, but there are standard percentages and fees for agents, managers, and lawyers in entertainment. Some online research will give you those. Usually, as far as I understand it, if there's somebody who says they're a manager and you have to pay a fee to be in their community, they're not being a real manager. A real manager works for a percentage, as far as I know. The difference between agents and managers is this. Agents are legally authorized to negotiate contracts. They are essentially kind of a creative lawyer. They are someone whose their main job is to negotiate contracts. They also, in theory, are scouting out the territory, and if they meet someone who's looking for somebody for a job and you happen to fit that profile, they will introduce you. They do that less and less. Managers do more of that. Managers are not legally authorized to negotiate contracts. There's a strict difference. The reason is agents are not allowed to be producers. They do contracts between writers and producers, and they are the middleman. Managers very often act as producers. And so they will say, I'm putting together a project. I'm going to take this writer and this actor, and I'm going to hustle it around town as I do. And then if it works out, I'm a producer on that. Agents aren't allowed to do that. They're not allowed to say, I'm doing this deal and I'm going to be a part of that. So there are more managers because managers, I believe the bar is lower to getting the license to be a manager or getting the ability to call yourself a manager. And also the profits in theory are pretty huge if you become a producer on a cool thing. So managers are probably a little easier to get. In theory, they are more involved in advising your career. Agents, more and more are not that involved in the daily, what should I do now? Should I write this or that? Should I, who should I talk to? They'll do some of that, but not a lot. From what I have heard of people who are currently working with agents and managers, first of all, everybody complains that none of these people give them the time of day. But to the extent that they do, agents do less until the money is involved. We need a new venues for the arts. Yes, absolutely. So none can take over with little talent. Yeah, I would say, I don't know about take over with little talent, unless you mean the people who are running the business are not talented. And that has always been true and probably will always be true because it's a business. And talent and business, art and business, they are different related things. The main thing about agents and managers is now and then you'll see somebody, you want to talk about scams. The scam is, I will be your agent, you have to pay me a fee up front. That is not kosher. Do not do that. Okay. The other thing, really, really important to scam questions, do not go into debt trying to advance your career. If you cannot afford to do something and lose that money, do not use that money for that. There is no, people used to say like, oh, make a movie, put it on your credit cards. By the time the credit card bill comes due, you'll be able to use the profits from making the movie to pay the credit card. No, don't do that. Do not go into debt trying to advance your career. You can advance your career for free with what you've got. The main thing you can do to advance your career is write something new and show it to as many people as you can, whoever they are. Okay, hi, Hofner. Yes, so the president, I'm not sure I understand with that. What's up with the president's on the money? Not the department that we are able to talk about here. The deal with money in the arts is do not spend money you do not have. The way to focus, to avoid scams and advance your career is this. Focus on doing the work. Don't wait for permission or approval. Do what you can afford, what you can control, and what you like. Do that stuff. And if you keep doing it, and you keep putting it out there, however you can, whatever your reality is, and you learn to love that process of making things, that is the way you advance your career. And you have to do that again and again for years and years and years. That's the deal with being an artist. There is not like an inside-outside, you're done, now you can just play and everyone supports you moment. Does not happen, okay? Academy Award-winning filmmakers are still often struggling to get the project they love made. It's a complicated thing. It's an art and a business. The thing that you should be doing is working on making your work better and understanding what's going on better. You have to constantly be checking what is the thing. Maybe doing a web series. Maybe doing a web series for 5 years is the best thing you can do, because then you can point to that work and say, look, I know how to get this done. Or I am going to write a daily thing for the next 5 years on Instagram and create this body of work. Create a work ethic, create an ability, a set of skills. That is what you can do. And then just keep showing it to everyone, which kind of gets into my next topic, which is, Bob Powers asks this: how do I get the industry to read my work? Bob Powers, in the last live stream, I didn't have time to answer this, so I said I would do it now. He said, I've written 3 or 4 good scripts. I've gotten good reads from friends and family. How do I get the industry to read my work? Well, kind of relates to the things I just talked about, which is basically the thing that you can afford to do, you should do. If you can afford to go to contests, cool. It's nice to get those credits on your resume. That is all it will do. It will not give you most of the time, not give you a financial payoff. The number of financial payoffs. Hi, Bob. Bob's here. Bob, I'm answering your question. Remember, I said I would get to it. So here's the deal. If you enter a contest, you have a slim chance to make the big prize. That slim chance is possibly the same slim chance you would have if you were applying to get a deal to sell your work to a production company. The only difference is you may not actually be able to get your work into the attention of the company. Will the contest help with that? Kinda, not a lot. Contest, pitch fest, those are not ways in. Those are just good credits. Well, not pitch fest, contests. They're mostly credits to put on your resume. So if anyone says, are you a good writer? You could say, well, I made it to the finals in 4 contests. Then, maybe I'll read that. Thank you. So the biggest secret, once again, to success is get really good. Sounds like Bob's doing well with that. Keep putting your work out there. You have to keep doing that. It doesn't, once you have an agent, you still have to keep doing that. You have to keep physically giving people, not physically giving them a script, but meeting people and saying, you write a script? Yeah, you want to read it? Over and over and over. You always have to do that. And you have to create some kind of life that supports doing that. Okay? Make a life for yourself that lets you keep doing this for 5 to 10 years. I was an office temp with an agent submitting my work and writing new work for 12 years before I started to make money enough to stop being an office temp. 12 years. And that was when there was much less competition. You need to create a life that you can comfortably work in. However that works for you. Is that you live in your parents' basement, which I did for many years, and you write and you work odd jobs to pay a little bit? Cool. Is that you only work for an hour a day before you go to work and then you have a full-time job? Cool. Whatever works for you to be able to keep doing the work so that you can get lucky. The way that luck happens is that you are quality and that you are present, showing up with the work. In order to do that, you control those 2 things. You control the ability to keep working and showing it to people. So Bob, my answer is show everything you do to everyone you can. Show it to everyone you can. Unfortunately, Bob, there's not a lot of ways in. If you can, I don't know where you are, I don't know who, everyone's life situation is different. But if you meet someone who works in the business in any way, a lighting technician, a costume person, and they'll read your script, they might know someone. Whatever that works, yes, you should show your work to everyone. When you do that, you increase the ripple effect of the possibility of luck. Also, you're an artist, you want people to see your stuff. If somebody at the dry cleaner reads your script and they like it, you have won. You have won the game of writing. Okay, that's it. The fact that that person can't make you millions of dollars does not matter. However, that person may know someone who may know that might say, hey, I read this cool thing, and show it to someone. It depends on where you live. It depends on another bunch of things. But the main thing you can do is keep doing the work. If nothing else, put it on the internet. Just go to the places like the Blacklist if you can afford it. If not, set up your own website and put your scripts on there. Then at least there's a way that people can see it. Just keep putting your work out there. The other thing, and SA, I see you. I'm just on another topic right now. Okay, so I will get to you soon. Hi, Ray. Yes, it's a long-term game. It is the longest con in history. It's an ongoing. You just never know. So Starbucks will offer a company. Say, hey, we've decided to support films, and they'll just say, like, everyone who goes to Starbucks. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. As far as this, you never know who you're going to meet. The more that you can meet people, the more that you can engage with them. That's a good reason. If you're going to have a reason to go to film school, that's a reason. At least you'd be meeting 40, 50 other people who are into it, and they may know other people. Is that worth the money? Probably not. Starting a writer's group, starting a theater company, starting a company that makes web series out of your backyard, those are valuable ways to advance your career. The other thing, there's a famous quote from Jonathan Winters, who was a performer back in the 20th century. He said, "I couldn't wait for success, so I went ahead without it." That is it. Work without success. You don't need success to do this work. That's what's so cool. It's something you can do endlessly without anybody's approval, without anybody's permission. You can do this stuff. Now you can make stuff. You can shoot it. You can release it to the world. So just be thinking about doing that, okay? Try to find your way. The secret to success is to get really good by doing the work and trying to improve yourself, putting it out there, and creating a life that allows you to keep doing that. And then you may or may not get lucky. Almost everything took me years before it got greenlighted. It is extremely unusual for anything to get made in less than 3 to 5 years. I want to make an urban novelty of the Holy Bible with volume words. I do not understand that, but I don't think it's a bad idea. All I would say is, if you can find a form to do that in, do it. Do what you see as the point. Find your work. Do your work. Get it out there. DIY. Okay? Do it yourself. If you can write something, you can self-publish it. If you self-publish it, maybe you can get it into bookstores. Maybe some producer will read it. If not, maybe someone will read it. And that's the point. If you were a painter and all you could do is go to the local street fair and set up a stand and put your paintings up, and maybe one person bought them if you price them right, that's a win. That's the art. That is what you are trying to do, okay? The rest of the business stuff, absolutely. Keep trying to learn it. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to inquire and explore and study the business all the time. But do recognize that the business is one thing and the art is another. And the art is yours now. You can do art now. More than ever, you can do screen art by yourself if you need to, but see if you can find some other people to do it. You can now share files with someone on another continent. So if you want to write some stuff and they're going to shoot it and they're going to send it back to you to edit it, you can do that, okay, for free. Hi, Butte. Glad to see you. Okay, so now let me just get, before we run, I do not want to run out of time on Michael's question from the other day, which is, how do I time a scene? And then I'm going to argue with Huffner about DIY. Okay, but first now, timing a scene. Pretty simple. In the business, an average scene will run from half a page to 3-4 pages. If you're going over 3 or 4 pages, you are running very long for the standard American entertainment industry. Not saying it doesn't happen. It absolutely happens. People write 7-8 page scenes now and then. However, your average scene is going to be a page, 2 pages. Gets to 3 or 4, you're running long. That's okay if it's a good scene, if your style is such that it can, that's cool. The thing I would suggest is, and I believe you know that I've done a video on this, take art apart. Please watch that video about this. But here's the thing. You're interested in scenes? Take your top 10 favorite movies. Watch them. Stop them. Just watch one scene. Type out the dialogue from that scene. See how long it is. Do it again and again and again. Get a sense of how these scenes are built. The way that you like it. Because if you are watching if you're watching Predator, the scenes are like half a page, maybe. There's like no dialogue in that. If you are watching The Social Network, the scenes are 9 pages. So you need to figure out what kind of things you like, what kind of language you work with. That's the main way to time a scene. As far as whether or not your scenes are timing out as far as you think, the rule for the industry is they believe 1 page equals 1 minute. So therefore, anyone in the business who's reading it is going to say, that's a 4-minute scene. There actually are professionals called script supervisors who can figure out the timing of a script to a remarkable degree of accuracy. They're really good at this. But the main thing is that if you're concerned about your script, like this scene runs too long, set up your telephone, turn on video recording, you and somebody else read the scene out loud to each other. Just read the dialogue, don't read the stage directions. See how long it runs. That's how you time a scene. The main thing is, though, 1 page per minute is the industry belief in how long things run. It's not accurate, but that's how they work. 3 pages, maybe 4, is a long scene. Most 1-2 pages. That's the rules for timing a scene. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you, SA. I am not sure I understand what you are saying, but I don't disagree. As far as the timing when it comes to pacing, the more that you can study, ideally do it. Like you can do all this with your phone. There is built-in editing software, I believe, in many phones to use the camera, and then you make something. What you will find is in editing, it's always too long. You can always cut more. I am shocked at how close together you can cut words and lines when I cut stuff. In general, move it along. But the best way to do it is just read it out loud, record it, play it back. There's something weird that happens when you read something out loud, even if you're not an actor, and then you record it and you play it back, that lets you absorb it in a different way and understand the pacing. So that is my advice. Now, Huffner, you don't believe in DIY in first of all, you don't believe it happens? Because it does. It's an actual thing. It exists. But I think you mean you don't believe in DIY as, I'm not sure what, as a path to industry acceptance. I'm going to say right now, I think DIY is kind of a good idea because you gain skills. Because if you do DIY, you will learn the thing that Michael was asking about, which is timing. Until you have had actors take your lines and read them out loud and had an editor cut them together, you can't really tell what pace is. The more you experience production, the more you experience performance, the more you experience the translation of a script into the things that follow it, the more skills you gain as a writer. So, But I understand that, first of all, some people don't believe in DIY because they just don't like the look of it. They don't like the sound of it. They don't like the feel. Stylistically, aesthetically, it's uncool. And that's fair. That's a matter of opinion, a matter of taste. And I would say absolutely. Some people don't like unpolished, unprofessional things. I absolutely support your right to believe that. I personally like it. I personally think it's sort of cool. Like sometimes it's better to watch a school play. Like if you want to see if your play works, have a high school production of it. Because if you write a play and the best people in the world do it, they're going to cover up a lot of weaknesses with their strengths. But if you write something and you give it to a semi-professional group to put it on, it's got to be rockin' strong to be able to survive that. But it can happen. You can write a script that non-actors can film with non-professional equipment, and it can be riveting. And that's when you know you really understand screenwriting. I passionately believe this. Is DIY a ticket into the industry? I mean, it's true. For many people, they will look at polish and say, that's that. But remember, you're not the photographer. If you write a great script and it's badly photographed and poorly edited and poorly acted, the people who understand what scripts are will know that it's a good script, and that will not hurt you. All I can say is, in this world, there is too much content. There's too much stuff. And so anything you can do to move your work and your work experience along the path of going through all the steps that a script goes through, the better. The other thing, this brings up the question, and I again just urge you to consider the question, does it have to be a script? Could you write this in a form that is not going to have to be submitted to producers for money and then distributors for distribution and all these other people who are going to take it and they're going to change it and they're going to do the best they can with it, but it's not going to be what you imagined? If you can write something that somebody can just read and enjoy, it doesn't have to be a formal novel, story. It can just be a piece of writing. It could be a bit of memoirish, graphic novelish, sketchbooky poetry. Who knows? Anything like that is possible now. The world is more open to alternative forms than it has ever been. The business is more open to alternative forms than it has ever been. And I urge you to express yourself in the form that you can do without anyone's permission, without anyone else's money. Use your time and talent instead of money. Money is the last thing you want to be thinking about. Think about your talent, think about your abilities, and do what you can do to completely fulfill that vision in the form you have, whatever that is. That's the job. At the beginning of my screenwriting journey, I always wonder why filmmakers don't practice. Yes, exactly. Yes. You have to practice. Ray, that is such a great point. I actually, when I got a break, I won a screenwriting grant actually. And it wasn't a lot of money. I couldn't live on it, but I bought some video equipment and I made practice movies. At this time, it was in the 1990s, there was no way to release a movie on video. But it's a chance to practice, to try things out. I beg you all to practice the art. If you only want to write, and you want to write scripts and have other people make it into movies, practice working with other people who do the other jobs. Find someone who will do a web series based on your scripts for the amount of money they have in their pockets, because that practice of giving it to them is really, really, really necessary to learn what script writing really is. Thank you, Reflecting Trees Rock Band. feel while writing what the audience emotions project. Yes, you should indeed be feeling what you want to. Well, sometimes you don't feel it. Sometimes you feel a craftsmanship to make someone else feel. But yes, okay. We want to give on. Okay, Hoffner, thank you. I appreciate that. And once again, I truly understand some people do not like the DIY aesthetic, and I am totally cool with that. Yes, absolutely. I would be happy to. But in the main thing, I want to make sure, do you know, Jay, about this video? If you have not watched it, it's my basic theory. I'll be happy to talk more about it. Here's the deal. Put a comment, watch that, and then put a comment in this video's comments and say, no, it wasn't enough. I still want to know this. But that may answer your question. It's a video I did called How to Organize a Project. I will put a link in the description of this. After about 10 minutes after this video is done, look back at the description. You'll find a link to that video. Or you can just look up that video. Yes, absolutely. Najo knows what she's doing. If you can afford it, to use contests as a way to verify that strangers like it, that makes sense. If you're going to say, I'm going to put in this contest to see what kind of responses I get, and I can afford to spend $100 to do that, fabulous. You may instead want to spend, I don't know what the blacklist costs. It's like a monthly fee to put your script up on the blacklist, and maybe someone will read it. The problem is that that's still a maybe. But yes, using these forms, these non-scam forms of feedback, to the extent that you can afford to pay for that service, it is worth it. To the extent that you think the contest is actually going to open the door to the production office, that is unlikely. Cool. Great. And yes, indeed, you have your placements on the rents. Contests are completely valid. Like when I made an indie film called Disfigured, I went to festivals for a couple of reasons, but the main reason I thought was to get those little laurels. Official selection, this, official selection, that. I did 6 of those. And I chose them as the ones that I felt were respectable. Not the top tier. I wasn't going to get into Sundance or Tribeca, but there was a second tier of quality festivals, and I went to 6 of those. And what I learned was, yes, I got those laurels. When it came time to say, this is a film with a DVD box, I could put those laurels on there. Look, it was in festivals. But the experience of going to those festivals, I cannot tell you how freaking cool it was to be with other DIY, indie, offbeat filmmakers. And there are some scouts from the business sometimes, but also the film community of people who were watching it, the people who run the festival. They love production. They love filmmaking. They love all that stuff. It's so great. If you can do this, if you can go to the Austin conference, it's in October every year. I believe there's one in Chicago. There are certain screenwriting conferences. Go, explore them. What are the best free ways to get feedback on your script? Well, the best way is just show it to say, hey, you want to read my script? If you can't afford anything, honestly, like writers groups, scour the internet. See if there's ways, like there might be bulletin boards or Facebook groups. I know there's screenwriting Facebook. Say like, I got a script. I kind of wonder if anyone wants to read it. I don't know how they work, but I would say that there's communities. Find a community of other people. Also, find a community. Go to your local college. If they have a film class, put up a notice. Script. Want to read it? You might be surprised. Somebody like a wannabe director might want to read it. I would say those are the best ways is to find communities who are interested in scripts. Because the thing about scripts, you have to remember, scripts are a stupid art form. Nobody wants to read a script except to do something with it. So looking for those people who want to do something, actors, directors, producers, see if you can find low-level people on that. You're not going to get to the top level of any of those. But if you go to if you go to an acting class, I bet you 4 or 5 of those actors will read your script. They might even read it out loud for you. That's going to be valuable. Absolutely. Absolutely right. Write what we haven't seen or write what you think is new or interesting. Angeli, writing a backstory of her character. I'm getting stuck finding a way to establish it. Slowing down the pace too much. Interesting. These are great questions, Angeli. Okay, we're going to do this briefly. I am actually working on a couple of videos about that. One of the things I do recommend is I did a video called Exposition, Your New Best Friend, which is partly about just how to get exposition, how to get that information in there. I'll put the link in the description about 10 minutes after this is done. Also, check this one out, Angeli. There's a video I did called Dramatic Action. A lot of that will relate to this. I'm going to run a little over the hour here to answer a bit about this question. So you've got a character and their backstory needs to be in the story. Here's the question. How the thing about backstory, and actually, you should check this out. This is really useful. There's a video I did on flashbacks, which talks a lot about what's past and what's present and the dramatic uses of them. The basic thing is, the main ways to get backstory into a story are A, people talk about it. In other words, if this is a thing that is important, it may be something that someone talks about. Maybe they only talk about it once, like confessing it or explaining it to someone privately because it's important to them. Or it could be something that comes up a lot. Like some people talk about their past endlessly in every conversation. They're bringing up their past. So that's one way, conversation. The other way is flashbacks or actual backstory sequences where you just stop and go back and tell that past thing. Sometimes you do it all in a hunk. Sometimes you break it up into little pieces. These are all covered in the flashbacks video. But the main thing is make sure that when you say you need to know it, that you really do need to know it. In other words, that you will not understand what's going on in the present. A lot of times people think that you need to know something because you need to understand their whole story. Many of the things that happen in backstory should happen in the present, in the action they have. For instance, if someone is terrified of something in the past, they will be terrified in the present as well. And so how much of whatever you want to put into backstory can be played out in the action of the story? How to make one scene serve more than one purpose is a really interesting thing. What I would suggest you do is figure out what the action is, what the main purpose of the scene, what is actually having to happen. Then see if in the relations of the characters, the way that you make things work, Angeli, is you have the person have a personal need. In other words, the character has a need to express that. That's how you get information in. If you have a piece of backstory, someone in your story needs to convey that or think about it if you want to do a flashback where they consider that thought. Is that making sense? Just paid 3 guys for it. Well, that's great. Paying is excellent. Hi, Blaine. Nice to see you. Thank you, Reflecting Trees Rock Band. I am very glad to meet you. That's very kind of you. Angeli, is that helping you? Are you getting what I'm saying? The point is, A, if a large portion of your story is, quote, backstory, maybe your story just takes place back there. Like stories can take place over different parts of time. And so maybe part of your story is a section in the past. If not, if you want never to go back, no flashbacks, then it has to come up within the relations of the people in the story. They must have a need to tell each other. Or sometimes it'll be like someone saying, I know that you did this. In other words, that person would never tell their own past, but someone else would accuse them or question them. Does that see what I'm saying about that? And please, 10 minutes after this video is done, there will be links to a bunch of other videos that I just mentioned. Check them out because I really get into detail on a lot of these topics. Last question, do you consider budgets when writing? Yes and no. I believe that you should always consider the path that you are going to take with a project. In other words, if you are writing something, you are thinking, I want this to be a low-budget movie that a bunch of people could make for under $1 million. Then research on the internet. There's books about this. There's tons of stuff. What costs money in production? Night costs money. Exterior costs money. Large numbers of people cost money. Changing locations costs money. There's a lot of information out there that you can get and you should get. I mean, I learned it at a time when there was less information and there were still like 30 books on the subject. So those 30 books are still around, plus the 250,000 that have come out since then. But the answer is yes, you do want to think, if I am writing, they go up to another planet, there is a giant kingdom there where all the elephants are talking. Well, somebody's going to have to pay for that to happen. They're going to have to create elephant costumes or animatronic elephants or digital elephants, some way or other. Somebody's going to have to do that. And you know that can't be cheap. So therefore, the answer is yes, I consider it. I may choose to write something that is enormously big budget. I did once, actually. I wrote something that was historical with a huge cast. And I wrote it and I said to myself, I want to show that I can write this kind of big budget thing, but I know that it's not going to sell because it's just too much of a financial risk. But I just want to do it as a sample of my writing to prove that I know how to do that. If you want to write a Marvel-sized fantasy sci-fi story, do it. But do recognize that the odds of it getting produced are reduced. Yes, when it gets produced, that's great, but most of those are not produced because it's too big a risk. If there is a small-scale story in a genre that's selling, horror, crime, romance, and it's affordable to shoot cheaply, you are increasing the chances that you can get it made. Well, I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday. For those of you who do not know, I am going to be doing these live streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Oh, I made it Tuesday through Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday. I will correct that in the next go around. Yes, catering also. It is possible to do a movie where nobody gets paid. You get a lot of people who want to do this thing and they live outside of LA or they're in LA and they're going to do it part-time because they want to be actors, they want to have the opportunity, they want to be directors, they want to be cinematographers. Sometimes they will say, hey, I'll take a weekend or two and do this. You have to write something that can be shot in a weekend or two. And yes, catering costs. You have to feed people. Even if you're not paying them, you have to feed them. Okay. I'm making a coming-of-age series. Establishing backstory is one of my favorite parts of the genre. Yeah. Also, really, the main thing I would say is if you are doing something in a genre you like, check out this video. The point is, if you have ones that you like, figure out how they did it. How did they do it? You are allowed to do it the same way. Your version should be your version. But if they use flashbacks or if they, cool, do it. You are allowed. I don't like to run 2 hours. It just seems, too demanding. So I'm going to be closing this off. It is great to see you all. Thanks for watching High Word Charm. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Some of them will be Ask Me Anythings. Others are going to be some other formats that I will be introducing. In the meantime, see you Thursday at 1 p.m. and go write something.